All right, I'm back again, but this time we're going to talk about commas. So we're going to start, we're kind of doing two different things this week. We're going to work on argument writing, analyzing argument writing, and then also commas will be the grammar part of our week. So the first thing I want to do is just take notes. So and that's all we're going to do. For the most part today, we're going to take notes. Okay, so I'm going to step over here and you are going to take notes along with me. So the sub should have passed out the notes. If you do not have the notes, they should say 10 comma rules and 1 semicolon rule. If you do not have this, then you need to ask the sub. Pause the video, ask the sub about this paper that you should have. Okay, so we use commas in sentences for multiple reasons, and we've talked about some of the reasons already, with compound and complex sentences. But good sentences, in our writing, we use lots of varied sentences. That makes our writing better. So a lot of good sentences have commas in them. So there's 10 main reasons why we would use a comma in a sentence. The first one is commas in a series. Okay? So here's what we mean by that. We have a couple of examples. So I bought bread, jelly, and milk at the grocery store. So since we are saying we bought multiple things at the grocery, we put a comma in between the items we bought. Okay, so I bought bread, comma, jelly, comma, and milk at the grocery store. So you want to put, when you list usually nouns in a series like this, it could be actions, things that you did, you put a comma in between. So here's another example. This Sunday, here's all the things that we did. We went to church, comma, and then ate lunch at McDonald's, comma, and watched the Colts game. So this is an example of them being verbs. Okay? Next reason we might use a comma, and that is if you write a sentence that has 2 adjectives. I'm going to actually underline. So series, 2 adjectives, and it could sometimes even be more adjectives. Usually it's just 2. So the long, comma, dreary day was more than I could take. So we're describing the day. What kind of a day? A long day. What kind of a day? A dreary day. We had 2 in a row, so we put a comma. It was difficult to stay on the path of the dark, dense forest. Again, what kind of forest? Dark forest. What kind of forest? Dense forest. We have 2 of them in a row, so we have a comma. Then, number 3 reason you would use a comma in a sentence, well, we know this one already. Compound sentence. Remember, the comma takes the place of the period in the first simple sentence. So when we have 2 simple sentences that we want to combine into one sentence, we can add a comma and a conjunction, a fanboy. So I went to the store with Mom, comma, but that's a fanboy. Conjunction, my brother went home with my dad. Remember, my is not capitalized because we've combined it into one sentence. And then Anna will bring the cookies, comma, and Scott will bring the milk. So we have 2 complete thoughts that we put into one sentence with a comma and a conjunction, or a fanboy conjunction. Okay. Number 4. After a dependent clause in a complex sentence, if it comes first, Okay, so a dependent clause in a complex sentence, if it comes first, you're going to use a comma. We already learned this too when we did sentences. So, when I was too tired, when is a subordinating conjunction, and this is a dependent clause. It cannot stand on its own. When I was too tired is not a complete thought. My coach changed pitchers. My coach changed pitchers when I was too tired. This, no comma here because the dependent clause comes last. When the dependent clause comes after the complete thought, or the simple sentence, my coach changed pitchers, who or what is the sentence about? My coach. What is being said about my coach? Changed pitchers. Well, then we don't need a comma. It's only when the dependent clause starts the complex sentence. All right, number 5. After an introductory word. So, yes, comma, well, comma. So, yes, I am allowed to go to the party. Well, I thought you knew the answer. So, introductory words. So far we have talked about we need a comma when we have adjectives in a series. When we have items in a series. We need a comma when we have multiple adjectives in a row. We need a comma for a compound sentence. We need a comma when a dependent clause begins a complex sentence. We need a comma with an introductory word at the beginning of a sentence. Go to the next page in your notes. We use a comma when we directly address someone. And that means directly address someone means you speak directly to a person. So, Bob, I'm speaking directly to Bob. Did you have a nice birthday? I thought, Bob, that your birthday was next week. So here we're speaking directly to Bob, but it's in the middle of a sentence. So when that happens, you put a comma around both the beginning and the end of Bob. So I thought, Bob, I'm directly addressing him, that your birthday was next week. When a person's name interrupts or comes in the middle of a sentence, then put a comma on both sides of the name. Okay? And we're going to keep going. We're almost done. We've got number 7 rule, after the day and year and a date. Okay, so we reviewed comma rules on February. Oh, sorry, I just put that in the wrong place. Here we go. Let me fix that right here. February 21st, comma, 2019. So we have the date and the year. So you got to separate the day and the year. On February 21st, 2019, we reviewed comma rules for iLearn. Now, notice I have 2 commas here. This was a mess up. We just have 1 comma. Here we have to have 2 because we have to separate the day and the year. And then when the full date is in the middle of a sentence, you're going to put a comma after the day and the year. So when the full date is in the middle of the sentence, so we're in the middle here, we started with on and then we continue the sentence, you're going to put a comma after the day and the year. All right, rule number 8, you put a comma between a city and a state, or city and a country. Also after the state or country in the middle of a sentence. So this rule right here is just like this one up here. If it's in the middle of the sentence, you got to put it after also. So I moved to Greenwood, Indiana. That is the city and the state, but we are in the middle of the sentence, so we also need to put it after Indiana. After I finished college, and then in college, I traveled to Paris, France, city, country. And I don't need a comma after France because it's the end of the sentence. Okay. Number 9. You need a comma to indicate an appositive in a sentence. We've talked about this a little bit, but let me review. An appositive is added information, so added info, we'll stop with that. So added info, usually in the middle of a sentence. Okay, so an appositive is added info, usually in the middle of a sentence. Here's an example. Abby, now we're going to give a little extra information about Abby. So, comma, my 9-year-old sister, comma. So the extra information is who Abby is. Abby is my 9-year-old sister. So, Abby, my 9-year-old sister, finished first in the track meet. Okay. I went to the party with Nathan. Well, who's Nathan? He's my next door neighbor. Okay, so I'm giving extra information about Nathan, so I had to put a comma. I don't need it at the end because it's the end of the sentence. All right, one more comma rule. Number 10, you use a comma after the greeting and closing of a letter. So, dear grandma, comma, at the beginning of a letter. Or at the end of a letter, you could sign with yours truly, comma, your friend, comma, and you never ever capitalize the second word in the closing. Okay? So we have gone over the 10 comma rules, but there's also one semicolon rule. You know this. A semicolon joins two sentences that are talking about the same topic. The semicolon is going to take place of a comma and conjunction. So guys, we know this rule. We talked about it with compound sentences. It's basically a compound sentence without the comma and the conjunction. The ball game was a close one, semicolon. We won in a last second shot. So these are two complete thoughts. We could have easily put comma and. The ball game was a close one, comma, and we won in a last second shot, but we're not. We're just going to use the semicolon. Okay. So, now you have taken notes over commas, and now I want you to work on an Edpuzzle. And it's over commas. It is actually, scratch that. I got ahead of myself. You're going to do that tomorrow. Okay? So today we just took notes. Tomorrow we're going to work on an Edpuzzle, which will review the comma rules. Okay? I will see you. Remember, I won't be here on Tuesday, but I will see you on Wednesday. All right. Bye.